Born to a mother at 16 years old, to a 2-bedroom home. Used to sleep on the age of 7 years old, you discovered your dream. You wanted to become an NFL player. You used to get up with your father on Saturday mornings at 5:30 and used to run miles and miles. The first game your sophomore season, you tore the ligaments. You was out for your junior year. You broke your clavicle the first game. Out for the season. College scouts would come in to see you and they would say, man, you are extremely talented. We just don't know if you're going to make it out of high school, let alone college. He said, son, there is no way that you will make it. Coach Philip Foreman from the University of Tennessee came into Crim High School. Inky, I want to offer you a scholarship to go to the University of Tennessee. You said, Coach, I'm coming. The reporter was making a beeline to Inky Johnson. Do you even think you're going to play at the University of Tennessee? I'm going to start at the University of Tennessee. You played a little bit your freshman sophomore season came, you broke the starting line. You got as strong as you had ever been. More of a student of the game. You got the bench press 315 pounds. You call your grandmother, you call your mother. You say, after this year, our lives are about to change forever. Second game, you guys are playing against Air Force. You guys found yourselves in the dogfight. Fourth quarter, Air Force had just went down and onside kicked the ball and dropped. Air Force recovered. You guys broke the huddle. You called quarters come. Running back slips out of the backfield. Now he's coming down your side. Quarterback released the ball to the running back. Running back catches it.
Got the pass caught.
Stop. I'm standing between you and the rest of your life. Where do your strength come from? Where do your drive come from? Where do your motivation come from? Where do your perseverance come from? Everything that you've ever been through, everything that you've ever faced, you've had the ability to overcome. You've had the ability to persevere. Everybody that ever made a sacrifice for you in your life, everybody that ever believed in you, everybody that ever gave you an opportunity in your life, you can't let them down. And I can't stop you. I can't stop you. Even if I wanted to, I can't stop you because you're about to get stronger.
Carney back. Got the pass caught. Well, we got a Tennessee player. It's Inky Johnson who's down.
People ask you all the time if you can go back to September 9th, 2006, that game against the Air Force, and you can stop that moment, or you can not play in that game, or you knew this situation was about to happen, would you change it? I can't stop this moment because of the people that believed in you and the people that sacrificed so much for you, and the people that saw something in you but you couldn't see it in yourself. To your grandmother, to your mother, to your mentor, to your father, to your family members, to your friends, to the people that looked to you and were inspired and were encouraged and were motivated. You had overcame so much. And by doing that, it gave so many other people strength. So I don't want you to deal with the disappointment of thinking that you disappointed them because your dream has left. I can't change it because of what's about to happen. But even if I could, I wouldn't. Good morning. Let's try it again. I know that breakfast is sitting on you. Good morning. You know, first and foremost, I want to let you guys know it's an extreme honor and privilege to be here before you all. The mothers, you all look beautiful. The sons, you guys look decent. I can't say handsome, you know. You guys look decent. But can we give the young men another hand for honoring their mothers? That was awesome. I also want to extend my gratitude to the leadership here. Thank you all so much for, providing me this platform to share. But my mother is someone who's very, very special to me. She had me at 16 years old in Atlanta, Georgia, and for the most part of our life, she was a single mother. And she worked a double shift at Wendy's. And she probably gave me the greatest gift that one could give me. She believed in me. And she cultivated every dream that I ever possessed as a kid coming up on the east side of Atlanta. And so I want to share with you all the video that you just saw. That was a video that got done by ESPN, and they went on to produce a short film, kind of a 30 for 30. And it did pretty well, and so the producer called me one day, and he said, Inky, I have some great news for you. I said, what is it? He said, you know the film we did? I said, of course, it was awesome, awesome experience. He said, it's nominated for an Emmy. I said, oh man, that's great. He said, who else is in the category? And the first name he said was Muhammad Ali. I said, we lost, but it's pretty cool to be nominated, and sure enough, we lost, right? And so I grew up inner city Atlanta in a two-bedroom home with 14 people. And so my dream to go to the NFL was birthed from circumstance. And so I never really wanted to make it to this institution called the NFL because of, so much of what it brought. I wanted to make it because I felt as if I made it, maybe I could pull my mother off of double shift at Wendy's, maybe I could give my grandmother a better living condition. And so every single day I had 3 younger cousins and we had a routine. And so every day after school we would rush home and we would play tackle football in the street. And we would play until the street lights would come on. Then we had 10 minutes before we had to go in the house, and we would do it religiously. I'm talking about pure passion, not too much wisdom, scarred up, bloody, getting after it. And so one day we were in the street and we're playing football, getting after it, and the street lights pop on, and when they pop on, it's a blue pickup truck at the corner. And so I stand on one sidewalk and I have the ball in my hand, and my 3 younger cousins stand on the opposite sidewalk. And so I look at the truck, and I'm waving him by, and I'm like, come on, man, I got a couple more moves I want to put on these young jokers, right? And so he's just chilling, and he's cruising. And he passes us slightly, and he parks on the sidewalk. And out of the truck got the first white guy we'd ever saw in our neighborhood. Every drug dealer take off running, thinking he's the cops, right? Nicest guy in the world. And he walked over in between our game, and he said, hey, man, would you guys like to play football on grass? I said, man, I would love that. Where you been, brother? The street getting rough. He said, go in the house, get your parents, get your guardian. I ran in the house, my Uncle JJ was present. I said, hey, Uncle, will you please come and speak to this gentleman? My uncle said, sure. My uncle walked outside. The guy extended his hand. My uncle extended his. He said, hey, I don't even supposed to be over here. He said, I brought a kid home 3 blocks up. I'm just checking out the neighborhood. His exact words were, I see these little knuckleheads playing tackle football in the street. He said, I run a league across town. I think if you bring the boys out, great opportunity for them. It can really help them in life, not even on no football or no sports stuff. Like I want to help them develop as young men. My uncle responded, sir, we greatly appreciate it. He said, but I hate to inform you, we just don't have the money for anything like that at this moment. And I'm standing in front of the coach because I really wanted to play. And my uncle pointed at me and he said, Inky's mother, she's working a double shift at Wendy's right now. She don't have it. And the coach, without any hesitation, says, I tell you what, if you bring the boys to the park tomorrow, I'll sign them up and I'll pay for it with my own money. The next day, my uncle brought us to the park. I stood in line beside this guy that I didn't know from a can of paint. I watched him take cash out of his own pocket. He paid for me and my 3 younger cousins to play ball. And in my family, the only people that ended up going to college was me and my 3 younger cousins that he paid for in that street that day. But it impacted me in such a way to where it wasn't so much of the action. I was intrigued by the thought process and the way he lived his life because he didn't operate with the spirit of, I pat you on your back, you pat me on my back, I'm going to do something for you, and I'm going to circle back and remind you 3 months from now what I did for you so you can pay me back. And he didn't live his life that way, and my mother lived their life the same way. And so I was more so intrigued by the spirit. And so one night, my mother couldn't make it off her shift, and she said, Coach, can you take Inky home? He said, sure. And so when we got to my house, I got out, and I'm standing on the sidewalk, and I said, can I ask you one question? He said, sure, what you got? I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful when I ask you this, but I really want to know. He opened his door, he walked around, he stood directly in front of me. He said, Ink, I love you, man, what you got? I said, why do you live life the way that you live it? I said, because my mother lives her life the same way, and so I just want to know. He said, son, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't want you to ever forget it. And in its simplicity, it was yet profound. And what he said to me was, as long as you can live your life and make sure that somebody else's life is okay, he said, son, your life will always be okay. And he got in his truck and he left. And the way I processed it was, as long as I can approach things and have a purpose that's a lot greater than myself, but more so if I can honor something that's a lot greater than myself, i.e. my mother. When I face opposition, adversity, and challenges that will crush most people, my driving force for why I want what I want will be totally different. In other words, people think I love football, and I did. Like, I love the element of I can inflict violence on an individual and not get in trouble for it. I loved every bit of that, right? But more so, what I love more than anything, I can be a part of something with a group of individuals, and what we were working for was greater than any one of us. You see, people knew I played football at Tennessee. People knew I worked myself into a position to where I was a projected first-round draft pick. And then I had an injury and I was fighting for my life. But what people didn't know was, at the early age when I first started playing football, I didn't like it at all. After about my 3rd practice, I stormed off the field and I wanted to quit. I went to my mother. I said, man, I had enough of this. I put my helmet down. I was taking my shoulder pads off. And she said, you stop right there. I said, stop what? I said, we can play basketball. She said, no, you're not going to go throughout life. You're not going to be a coward. I said, I'm not a coward. She said, I'm not saying you're a coward, but what I'm telling you is you're not going to start something, and because you don't like a culture, you don't like the process of it, I'm going to let you quit. She said, whatever you start, I'm going to make sure you finish it. And I took that principle with me throughout my whole life and anything that I ever approach. And so NFL, as much as it stood for National Football League, I also understood it stood for not for long. Average career, 3.5 years. And so if I work myself into a position, could I work and go at it in such a way to where when my career ended, which it did unexpectedly, I prepared for the game the same way. I listened to the same music, Phil Collins, I can feel it come. That was my jam, right? Listened to it before every game. I prayed at the same time. And I was 10 games away from going to this thing called the NFL. And I went out and I made one tackle that I could make with my eyes closed. And as soon as I hit the guy, 2 hours later, I ended up in the emergency room. My mother came in, she kissed me, she said a prayer, said, Inky, you'll be okay, it's football, things happen. And as soon as she was walking out, I was watching my mother walk out, head doctor came running from the opposite side and he was screaming. And he said, guys, get in here, we got to rush this kid back to emergency surgery. He's about to die. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, man, you can't use another word, like die? Like use a synonym, brother, like die? He's like, yeah, you're about to die. I said, what happened? He said, you ruptured your subclavian artery in your chest, you're bleeding internally. He said, we got to rush you back, take the main vein out of your left leg, plug it into your chest in order to save your life. And his exact words were, I guarantee you, you won't be here in the morning. I said, let's go. The next morning I woke up, the NFL and the game of football on my scale of life was that big. SEC championship, multi-million-dollar contract. Everything I thought was so important and so valuable, it wasn't that important anymore. Reporters were coming in and out of the room, USA Today, ESPN, all these different groups, CBS, coming in and out of the rooms. They were sticking mics in me, my mother, my father's face, coach's face, and they asked my mother one question. And at this point, I was supposed to be in the hospital from 60 to maybe 80 days. And when they asked my mother this question, they said, what do you think is going to happen with Inky? We know he loved the game of football. We know he treated it like it was all he ever had. And she said to him, one bad chapter doesn't define the book. She said, this is only the beginning for my son. He'll be fine. He's resilient. And I walked out of the hospital on the third day. Every day of my life, the energy, the passion, the dedication, the commitment that I live my life with, the purpose, the mission that I live my life with. There's a quote by Maya Angelou that says, I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. Meaning when you see me, I'm the makeup of those that believed in me and saw something in me when I couldn't see it in myself. But the spirit, if you were to strip Inky Johnson down to its core, the spirit, the mindset, the heart, the resilience, the dedication, and the commitment that you will find that lies on the inside of me is that of Ruby Lewis, which is my mother. Every single day, I just want one thing from you, young man. Your whole life, whatever you do, whatever you aspire to do, goals, dreams, aspirations, no matter how successful you may become, no matter how far you go in life, is one person that you should always honor, love, and respect. And that person is your mother. That's my time. God bless you. Thank you.